Hi everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. I'm here today, finally, with the flip through of the first of these two journals that I've been working on for quite some time. Basically these, I'm calling them the swatch palette journals. So, they have a little bit more of a story than just that though. So essentially the theme that I used for these was inspired a little bit by nature, by swatching, because I've become really obsessed with swatching lately, like all different kinds of swatching. And I've done these kind of journals before, but then organically the theme kind of changed to like, you know, be a little inspired by someone like maybe Edith Holden or other botany and nature study kind of people, and maybe art study people as well. So I formulated this kind of character in my mind that was like a woman who, you know, is an artist and she studies art. She's inspired by nature, so she studies nature, and she has this kind of Harriet the Spy, I want to write it all down, but it's almost like draw it all down, kind of sample things, make swatches of things, you know, maybe botanical inks or metallic paints, or, you know, it may vary. So that's sort of how these journals bubbled together. So the books themselves are made from, this is a hardcover book that I hand dyed completely in this fun grungy tone. I did this with all sorts of fun dyes and inks, and I just kind of kept layering it. And then the spine is this, for this one, is this beautiful fabric washi tape that's been stitched on. This was from 49 in Market, and then you'll see that the signatures here are visible. This is the bigger of the two books, and it has 7 signatures. And then I've done some tying the signatures together on the outside with these very organic beads. And the covers themselves, there's a base at the back of the lady of the book, and this one, you know, she's lovely. She's kind of glancing downward, perhaps, you know, looking at her gallery here. So how I created the gallery covers, and they are on both sides, is that I just kind of layered color palettes and then treated them in different ways. So I did use a paper collection, the Stamperia Atelier des Arts, and I really love that collection, so I used pieces of it. I also stamped on the book and painted actual little paint samples. I've also designed recently some digital collections that are about swatching for these books, but also they're available in my Etsy shop if you're looking for them. And yeah, there's a lot of things going on. The whole entire book, if you're wondering, it's all sealed. So all of this, well, these might be, you know, individual pieces. It's all one, like when you run your hand over it. So the ties here are this is like a fun fabric tie. They're very, very lovely linen, and they've got some printed, it's kind of, you can't really tell what's here, but there is a bit of botany. It's a botany theme, this fabric that I used, but I really loved it for the gray with a little bit of a nature, you know, theme. There's some insects or some mushrooms. It's a really cool fabric. But let's just jump into the book here. So we begin with the end papers. So the end papers here are from 49 in Market's Spectrum Sorbet collection, the yellow. Oh, I just love this collection. It's gorgeous. And then back here you will see hand-painted linen. That's what I used to make the spine backing. So then we get into the book, and the first page is a digital of mine that I created for this book, and it's a pocket with the sunflower, some swatching going on. You're going to see a ton of swatching. I did so much painting. These books have taken me just a little over a month, I think, to make now. And you know, beyond that, I'm just realizing how much work went into them, because the other thing about them is there's tons of boiled book art book pages in here. I've done all of this hand painting, all of this design work. Like, I don't think I could even count the hours that have gone into these books. But anyways, so here's 3 little palettes, and I hand drew these, and they're like fun little flip downs that you could write a little something on. And then this is from a palette recipe book. You'll see more of these palettes. And I took from some lovely old women and gardens and women and art type books, where, you know, old masters art that I thought would really fit in here. That these were the kind of women personalities that I wanted to have inside these books. I was also graciously blessed by Mary Ellen of Red Pear with some of her beautiful watercolor eco printing and boiled book pages. Now, obviously, I do my own for sure, but her pages are another part of what inspired these books, because she got beautiful flowers, and I just really thought that they belong. Some of them belonged in these books for sure. So that's what this is. And then this page is a coffee dyed page with a long tab. This is one of my digital pages from my palette collection, and I have done some swatching here with metallic paint, but you know, the rest you can kind of swatch yourself or do journaling on. The thing about all these painted spaces and these, you know, blocks of palette kind of space is all of it can be written in, and I'll sort of demonstrate that with this really cool you'll see parts added in that are from like an early 1800s Italian textile book with loads of handwriting and textile swatches and things. It's kind of cool. I'll point that out when we get there. So this is a boiled book page from the art book with florals. We have these paint brushes on this marbled paper pocket, and this is a little rice and whaley ledger paper that I did some painting on. I did this originally for a digital collection, but the originals are used in this actual physical book collection of 2. So if you're interested, I do have a digital that blows these up to full page size, but you could print them at any size. It's in my Etsy shop. Then we have this upper tuck pocket with a paint tube and some fun swatching. And then this lovely botanical of the winter cherry. And on back, this is Looking at Butterflies. It's from an old book. Some tea-dyed paper, and I've stitched leaves throughout this book down the sides. There's lots of hanging threads because I wanted this to feel very like a scratchbook, like somewhere you would put everything, like, you know. So we have another of my original cash ledger watercolor collection papers. I have these almost ready to go. I will be releasing a digital collection of these cash ledgers. The originals are in this book with a old envelope here, and then a couple of lovely journal cards that will just pop in here. Coffee dyed paper. The other side of the cash ledger, this is from 1934, and I always love leaving some of the ledger pages just as they are because like they're gorgeous. This is one of my waxed paper collages from like a general science book with botanicals, and this is a page of the collection of Atelier des Arts. It's just a beautiful page. And then this is from it's a fun art image of these little girls, and I've done some stamped swatching with different watercolor papers. Tea-dyed paper, and then this is a pocket with a fun paint tube there on some old 1934 ledger, and this is just a rustic fun piece of paper that's in there. More of my swatching and coffee dyed papers. This is a belly band that I've done more swatching on. This is done with alcohol ink. And it's on one of the boiled art book pages. You'll see all the sketchy lines of the face here, and it continues on back. And I love all of the colors and the dots that come from the tannin, you know, in the pages. And then the alcohol ink just really added another element to that. And again, you know, all of this is all boiled book art page. And this is another of those kind of drawings with a bit of, I was experimenting with gold and patina on this paper with some copper and things. And then this is a little tuck spot with a little oil color bottle. The other thing that you'll find in my shop as I release these books as well will be a new digital called Color Stories, and it's a little, it's just a little digital of like 2 pages, but I think it's a really fun snippet type useful little digital, and I might come out with more pages, but I just wanted to release a little one. I made this digital for these books, so these are the physical, ones that I actually did. So I painted a shade. This is acrylic paint, and then I would write a story for that. So the pink reminiscent of the magnolia bloom. And then this is again from my palette, my Rustic Palettes digital, and I painted with metallic paints, coffee dyed, and Mary Ellen's beautiful eco-printed pages. This is a little rub-on. It's from a fun series of these. I can't remember. It's from Dress My Craft. It's actually a really fun collection. I can quickly show it to you, but I grabbed one of those from there because I just thought it fit nicely. And then we have, this was me smooshing my paint palette with some really fun old paper and added a little sheer inspiration, and you will be an artist. Now, remember I mentioned, that's another of my, this is another of my digital pages that I made. Then remember I told you about the Italian textile book. So this is one of the pages. Okay, so this one is blank on back, but you see this beautiful handwriting. So these are all threads, real threads, and this is glued down. It was a textile sample book. So that's a really great journal card. And you'll see some other pages like this, but I think it shows you how, you can write things inside of palettes like that. This is another of the Rice and Whaley pages, the actual real ledger page, and then more tea-dyed paper. This is a drawing that I did for my Journal Together kit for the month of March, I believe, and then I painted in the colors. I then sprayed it with a little coffee to kind of smudge it a little, because I want this to look like kind of an authentic book that somebody would be sampling in, right? This page is another of my digital pages that I made for the collection. And then this is a belly band. It says Nibs and Ideas. It's like 2 little drawers. And then this tag goes inside. And this really embodies kind of the spirit I was going for. Nature, art, women. And so that fits in there. Little paint chips here. And then this is a tip out. So here we have beautiful orchids on boiled book. And then here and here, I've done different kinds of painty paper sampling and that have been inked and grunged. Here on the flip out, I've used one of my hand-painted watercolor ledgers, and I've just cut it into a belly band, added this little butterfly, sort of another art sampling, right? You see the little sample, like it's like a swatching of butterflies. And then this was a woman from like a beautiful old Hollywood book, and I love her. And then I drew the roses in pink. If you can see, I hand drew those on the photograph. So that just tucks in there. And then we have some boiled book diagrams, more of Mary Ellen's unbelievably gorgeous paper. This was a little like popped out, page I got from something, I don't know, but I really like how it looked, and it's all coffee spattered. And then this is a little palette with acrylic paints on it. If there is feeling, there is art, and it is on another of those beautiful painted ledgers. And then inside of it, we have this big, beautiful botanical on a black background. So it's like a big card. And then the visible ledger, and we have one of Mary Ellen's amazing envelopes that she eco-printed, and I put one of the Rice and Whaley pages on the inside. More of the ledger. And the painted ledger on this side with this little clustery pocket with little palettes. And then I felt like this was a nice way to kind of bring women and nature back into things. We've got some Edith Holden back here and this red bird, and it's kind of a palette of reds. Another of the watercolor pages from Mary Ellen. And then we have a rusty paper clip here with some vintage lace and thread hanging from it. And this is a page from an old book of this beautiful clock tower. And I have this metallic color shifting paint. So I just did swatching right on top of the original photo. And it just clips on there as an extra, piece of stationery. And then this cluster here is a pocket. This is from like a vintage how to paint kind of book. And then this here is a lovely woman on some boiled book with amazing color and text back there. And a little Edith Holden Dog's Mercury journal card. And then this is one of my waxed collage of wildflowers on the flap of this. And inside is this beautiful illustration that has gone through the boil book process. So you could write on the back, even on the front if you wanted to. And it just tucks there in that little freeform, flap. And then in here, we have these paint tubes on this tuck. Boiled botanical, beautiful. And then this is from the Italian book. So back here there were stuck down samples of fibers. They were quite chunky though. They actually had things like silk and cotton, like raw cotton, hemp, and different kinds of twine and things. So those are a little thick for books, but I absolutely love this. And I did not want to mess up this amazing writing. So yeah. That is a bonus of getting this book, is you have your hands on this turn of the last century Italian textile like page. Another of my color stories, the warmest shade of curry red, almost fragrant. This is my digital from my palette collection. Coffee dyed paper and the rice and whaley paper. And then another of these flip outs. So in the back you see this is boiled art book. Little pocket there with this journal card from the Stamperia Atelier des Arts. This is some stamping I did on cabbage dyed log paper. So there's more writing there, and then you close that and you have this. I collaged these scissors on here and these beautiful watercolors. On the ledger, it's a belly band, and we have a matching paint tube to her outfit and this paper, a nice thick blue thread going around this. It's a really nice tag. And then a clustery pocket with threads and tickets and photographs. Just a fun little, artsy women representation. Some bees flying around down here on the boiled book page. And then another lovely, old Masters Art image of this woman reading. Maybe she's reading her swatch book. Tuck that back up in there. What am I calling? Let me check. Oh, I see. Okay. Then we have some coffee dyed paper with leaves. This is laminated with some real little plant materials there and this fun little rook. And then it's on fun swatched ledger paper. And then this is a color shifting black journal card, and it's got a paint chip up top. These are beautiful Renaissance color shifting paints. More of the ledger and Mary Ellen's beautiful watercolor paper, eco-printed paper, and then another rice and whaley ledger. And at the center, this is another from my Rustic Palettes collection, digital. So I drew all of this myself in digital format. Made all these boxes and circles myself and then painted them all in. So this is all mine, inspired by a very old swatch design that you actually can see, I think, on one of the covers. Is it this one or the other one? Yeah, it must be the other book. But there's a similar one that was done probably in the 1700s. And so what I did is I layered botanicals because I wanted botanicals to be a part of this as well in the background. And then I made those circles and these squares, and I just had a lot of fun with this digital collection. Then another rice and whaley. These have metallic color shift paints as well. Hopefully you can see them. And more of those beautiful eco prints and ledger. Art is everywhere, and this is another ledger page. Loads of swatching going on. This is from a color recipe book, and it has all these beautiful names and everything with all the colors. This fun long banner tab has some really nice old grungy book spine on it. Some botanicals here. This is from the Victorian Wildflower book. And then this really cool page that has this flying fish illustration. This is another design that I created. And yes, I have hand painted all of these colors in here. These are watercolors. And again, you'll see in the back, you've got botanicals in the background, but lots of writing space here. Then another color story, the deep teal of looking under the ice of a frozen sea. And then this, so this is a fun collage with gold swatching that I did. It tips out, and back here we have the beautiful boiled art book, and then a lovely woman here. And then this is a little, I drew this for the Journal Together Club for Patreon in March, and it says couleur in French, and it's on brown paper that's been coffee stained, and I've colored this in with art pencils, colored art pencils. Then we have a pocket here that has a paintbrush and some more swatching on the boiled art book. And then this is from the color recipe book. I made a tag and I added some fun master's art of a woman on the front. More coffee dyed paper with leaves. And then this is a Stamperia Atelier des Arts page, but I added one of my watercolor ledger pages on the front. And you open it up, and then you have a booklet, and this is actually watercolor paper, so it's a few pages that you can write or paint in. And then this little envelope here, I always forget the name of these like onion skin envelopes. And then we have this lovely woman here. And then a little gallery photo on the boiled book from Mary Ellen, and more beautiful watercolor pastel metallics on ledger, then boiled book with more different metallics on this little scrap of boiled book, and then the other side more pastels and more eco-printed paper, then a little cluster pocket with palettes again, and another color shifting watercolor paper card with brown paper on back. And we have that marble paper at the back there. This is another beautiful page from Atelier des Arts, and tea-dyed paper. This is a wraparound palette belly band. And this, we have a look inside Monet's studio of his house in Giverny. The house is open to visitors. So that's kind of cool, sort of like part of her art study. To be doing some research and maybe some travel. And then over here we have this lovely woman hidden in this. This was an envelope, like a mail envelope with a cello, window. And so I turned it into this, added some fun acetate here. And then this is the journal card. It's on my jelly print. This is an image from my Journal Together kit from March. So again, just layers of like my own work. Lots of layers. So, oops, one moment, kiddos. Sorry, a tiny person interruption. We had a boo-boo we had to figure out. Anyways, little matching palette here of like a sunflower with blue spatter and a blue paint swatch. The other side of that page that I created for my digital collection with more hand-painted colors. This is a page from the Stamperia Atelier des Arts, and I decided to keep this door functional, like to create a little fun interactive bit with it. Pocket in here, and then another of the watercolor painted ledger journal cards that I was making. This says Breathe the Art of Nature, and nice like brown paper back there for writing. This is just like an empty swatch page. This image here is actually from the Graphics Fairy. And then this is more of Mary Ellen's beautiful paper, another of my digital pages, the Rustic Botanical collection, palette collection. And so there's florals back here, and then these are all painted in these beautiful paints. Another color story, the green of the tallest cactus standing still at night. And another tea-dyed page with a nice long tab. This is another boiled book page with beautiful like line drawn faces on it, and then you know the way that the plants and everything reacted is just really stunning. Some tea-dyed paper with leaves. We have a Merrick Thread Co. ad here with this key on the watercolor ledger with one of those beautiful journal cards from Atelier des Arts. More tea-dyed paper, and then this is from Atelier des Arts as well. I just love using these as the center spread in a signature. And more of the ledger. And over here, you'll see more of the original painting, and then a paintbrush on this fun book. It's kind of a book ad. And then this is another page from that old Italian textile book. And this has nothing to do with colors. It's just a beautifully, you know, written Italian words that probably defined what kind of fiber had been glued down there, or color possibly. But I thought I would just add colors there with art pencils, and I like how it looks as a journal card. It's very cool. More tea-dyed paper, and then this is like a collage pocket. We have a paint tube here, a fan, a paintbrush, and then at the back, this is a journal card created from the Atelier des Arts collection, and then this is like so cool. I need to try to create more of this. Look at that. Can you see the colors? So this is boiled book page that was naturally stained to like the purpley gray hues, and then I painted on top of it with random brush strokes of like interrupter watercolors. Oh, they're just really, really fun. And then these bits here, they look like they're, you know, they are quilt pieces. And then a little rice and whaley paper that just kind of tucks into them with writing space on back. More tea-dyed paper, a little paint tube, more of my hand-painted botanical palette, and eco-printed paper. And then this is another little color story, amber gold as honey dripping from a hive. And then another fun page. So this is a page from the Atelier des Arts collection with the pocket and the little sentiment, make art and you will have wings to fly. And then I added some of those little palettes from Graphics Fairy. And then this is a watercolor postcard that was created by Mary Ellen with her beautiful flowers, you know, her eco printing. This is a tip out that it was part of the Journal Together kit for March that I drew. Just a fun little way to kind of, you know, I was thinking it'd be fun to swatch different colors and color that in. Then another of Mary Ellen's beautiful eco prints with these lovely swatches. This is a page of my digital. See the botanicals? These are all hand painted in. This is like a cluster freeform pocket that I made with this beautiful specimen of the red dragon orchid back here. And it is on boiled book paper. And then this is a collage of Dixon's pencils with a paintbrush there on boiled book paper. And this is from a field guide about yellow clovers. So a little bit of that nature art study, right? More tea-dyed paper with leaves, a little rainbow with a palette here on one of the watercolor ledgers. And then this lovely image, this was from the Boiled Art book. I just love her. I think she's like holding her ears because she doesn't want to listen to any nonsense, right? She just wants to work in her studio. And then this says, make your life a true work of art. It is on a color recipe snippet here that I turned into a pocket. And this is a lovely, look at these women. So this says London Curiosity. See how it's spelled. So this is about the gardens at Kew. These are the Kew Lady Gardeners from the Royal Botanic Gardens of Kew. They gardened in bloomers, the newspaper said, so to Kew without warning all Londoners sped. From the roofs of the buses they had a fine view of the ladies in bloomers who gardened at Kew. The orchids were slighted, the lilies were scorned, the dahlias were flouted till botanists mourned. But the Londoners shouted, "What ho there, go to! Who wants to see blooms now you've got bloomers at Kew?" And that's from Fun magazine from 1900. I put brown paper on the back, and it's just a fun, like, folding journal card. Then we have this beautiful page from the Atelier des Arts. And up here you get a little, this little bit here. It's kind of like the digital that I created, I was talking about. And then over here we have an art easel palette, or palette rather, a wooden palette with all those colors. And then this is seeds dispersing from a vintage book. And it's on that beautiful paper. More tea-dyed paper and ledger, another of those kind of quilty pockets. And then this here is another of the color recipe with a beautiful woman, and it says, "A garden enclosed is my sister, my spouse, a spring shut up, a fountain sealed. Thy plants are an orchard of pomegranates with pleasant fruits, camphire and spikenard. Spikenard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with all trees of frankincense. Myrrh and aloes, with all the chief spices, a fountain of gardens, a well of living waters, and seams from Lebanon." Oh, there's amazing watercolors back here. This is just one of the Boyle book pages. I love this linear drawing. I just left it as is. Then I created a cluster pocket back here with one of my color stories, the shade of blue of freshly frayed denim. And we have some painted bubble wrap here and some fun packaging and threads. It's just a really scrappy page that I like. And then another of those Edith Holden bird cards. This one is yellow. And then another of the color shifting journal cards there. And it has brown paper on back. And those just tucked together in there, and the gold kind of picks up on that gold. Another color story, the blue of the cool tumbled Amazonite. This is from my digital collection, Rustic Palettes, and more of Mary Ellen's paper. And then this is another page from my Rustic Palettes, and I, yes, have painted those in. You can write on this whole thing if you want to. Another color story, the yellow of the freshest lemon zest. Then a little painty palette of Boiled book page that goes, you know, it all kind of goes together color-wise. And then this is a page, I stitched some leaves and things on this from the Victorian Wildflower book. And I thought her and the wildflowers, it goes so well together. And then this is Boiled art book, and I just loved this here. And then a booklet here that says Create Art, and I've got some painted palette paper here from the Boiled book. And then these are actually pen and ink drawings that I did a long time ago that were in one of my sketchbooks. And so it's just like a little kind of notepad where you could write in. More tea-dyed paper with leaves. These are the Interrupter watercolors. More of Mary Ellen's amazing papers. And like, look how the Interrupter watercolors on the ledger, how they really sing to one another because of the purples on this page. And then a little tuck pocket here of all these pigments. And this was from a really beautiful book. I forget the name of it right now, but it's about how flowers change at different times of day, right? So you see it, you know, at 3:30, at 4:20, the next day. Like, so it's like the various times and how the flowers open and close. And I just kind of left this as is. I thought there's enough white space on here to write, but yeah, it's just beautiful as it is. A large tab here. This is another of my digital botanical pages. So botanicals in the background, and then I painted all of that. Another of my color stories, some painted burgundy-ish kind of color there, a reddish purple as that in the blooming orchid. Another of these little tuck spots with this beautiful botanical journal card on ledger paper. 1934. More Interrupter watercolors. More of the beautiful watercolor paper from Mary Ellen, and Rice and Whaley with Interrupter watercolors. And then this is the color recipe background, and then a beautiful crow and a sunflower there. on boiled book page with this little kind of cabinet that says drawings on it. It's like a little artist cabinet. And then this beautiful boiled book page, another color story. Blue is the shine of the wings of a morpho butterfly, and that is an iridescent teal blue color. And then this is the last page, and it is the other side of my digital where I have done this painting in here. And then the back side is also the 49 and Market paper that you saw at the front, but it's the flip side, and I just really love how this looks here. And then here's my seal, the date and time, the date and my signature. So that concludes palette 1, the first of the 2 palette swatch lady books here. I hope you liked it. I really like it. I believe that this one is spoken for, but should that change, then it will also follow the same path all my journals do, going to Patreon and then Etsy. So the best way to follow publicly what I post on Etsy, including digitals and journals, is to follow me on Etsy. And, you know, if you check your new items, then you will see them there. But all of my links are down below in the description box. Thank you so much for joining me for this flip through, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye for now.